What is microevolution? Microevolution is the change in allele frequencies within a population over a short period of time. How is microevolution different from macroevolution? Microevolution occurs on a small scale within a population, while macroevolution involves larger changes that can lead to the formation of new species. What are alleles? Alleles are different versions of the same gene. What causes microevolution? Microevolution is caused by natural selection, genetic drift, gene flow, and mutation. What is a gene pool? A gene pool is the complete set of genetic information within all the individuals of a population. What is natural selection? Natural selection is when organisms with traits better suited to their environment tend to survive and reproduce. What is genetic drift? Genetic drift is the random change in allele frequencies in a small population. What is gene flow? Gene flow is the movement of alleles between populations through migration. What is mutation? Mutation is a change in the DNA sequence that can introduce new genetic variation. Which mechanism of microevolution is completely random? Mutation and genetic drift are random processes. Can you give an example of microevolution? Antibiotic resistance in bacteria is a classic example of microevolution. How does the peppered moth demonstrate microevolution? The dark-colored moths became more common during the Industrial Revolution due to better camouflage on soot-covered trees. What is artificial selection? Artificial selection is when humans select which traits should be passed on, like breeding dogs or crops. How does microevolution apply to agriculture? Farmers use microevolution through selective breeding to improve crop yield or resistance. How do vaccines relate to microevolution? Viruses can evolve resistance to vaccines through microevolution. What are the types of natural selection? Directional, stabilizing, and disruptive selection. What is directional selection? It favors one extreme trait over others, like longer beaks. What is stabilizing selection? It favors average traits and eliminates extremes. What is disruptive selection? It favors both extremes over the average trait. Can natural selection reduce genetic variation? Yes, especially in stabilizing and directional selection. What is the bottleneck effect? A sharp reduction in population size that decreases genetic diversity. What is the founder effect? When a few individuals start a new population leading to different allele frequencies. Is genetic drift more significant in small or large populations, small populations? Can genetic drift lead to extinction? Yes, by reducing genetic diversity, making populations more vulnerable. How is genetic drift different from natural selection? Genetic drift is random, while natural selection is based on fitness. How can mutations be beneficial? They can create new traits that improve survival or reproduction. What is a neutral mutation? A mutation that doesn't affect an organism's survival or reproduction. Why is gene flow important for evolution? It increases genetic diversity and prevents inbreeding. Can gene flow reduce speciation? Yes, by mixing gene pools it prevents populations from becoming different species. How do humans cause gene flow? By moving species around the world, like introducing species to new habitats. What is the Hardy-Weinberg principle? It states that allele frequencies remain constant in a population unless acted upon by evolutionary forces. What conditions must be met for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? No mutation, no migration, large population, random mating, and no natural selection. Is Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium common in nature? No, it's mostly a theoretical model. What is the formula for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? Well, it's p squared plus 2pq plus q squared equals 1. So, p squared plus 2pq plus q squared equals 1. What do p and q represent in the equation? P equals the frequency of the dominant allele, and q equals the frequency of the recessive allele. How does microevolution help scientists understand disease? It shows how diseases adapt and evolve, like drug resistance in viruses. How does microevolution help conservation efforts? It helps maintain genetic diversity in endangered species. Can microevolution be observed in real time? Yes, especially in fast-reproducing organisms like bacteria. What role does DNA technology play in studying microevolution? It allows scientists to track genetic changes over generations. Why is understanding microevolution important for medicine? It helps in developing strategies against evolving pathogens. What is fitness in evolutionary biology? The ability to survive and reproduce in a given environment. What is adaptation? A trait that increases an organism's fitness. What is speciation? The formation of a new species from a population. What is variation? Differences among individuals in a population. What is selective pressure? Environmental factors that affect an organism's survival and reproduction. Why does microevolution not contradict religion? Microevolution is a scientific process observed in nature. Beliefs and science can coexist depending on interpretation. Could humans be undergoing microevolution? Yes, subtle genetic changes are constantly happening. Why might some people have resistance to diseases like malaria? Genetic mutations like the sickle cell trait offer protection, a form of microevolution. Why is genetic diversity important? It allows populations to adapt to changing environments. How can studying microevolution help us understand climate change impact? It shows how species might adapt or not to rapidly changing conditions.